The ticket sat on the counter, half crumpled under a grocery receipt and a box of mac and cheese. I'd bought it like I always did. Same store, same clerk, same weary good luck that meant nothing, just routine. That night, after Lily fell asleep on the couch halfway through her cartoon marathon, I finally scanned it. One number, then another, then the Powerball. I stood in the kitchen, holding my breath like the floor might fall out. I didn't scream, didn't even blink. I just stared at the numbers glowing on the screen like they were daring me to believe it. $94 million. More zeros than I'd ever seen in my life. If you're hearing this and feel even a flicker of what I felt that night, do me a favor. Tap that like button, subscribe, or just share this story. 97% of listeners never do, and it really means the world to the folks helping me bring this out. Thanks. Anyway, I didn't wake Lily. I just sat beside her, watching her chest rise and fall under the blanket with cartoon unicorns on it. She had a half-eaten apple slice in her hand and one sock dangling off her foot. That little girl was the reason I'd taken every overtime shift, skipped every weekend trip, and told myself I didn't need more than what we had. I used to believe that a solid life was enough, that doing right by your family meant putting yourself second. That love was shown in quiet ways, scraping ice off windshields before sunrise, or putting the last cookie in a lunchbox without a word. And then, just like that, everything changed. I should have called Monica, texted her, but it didn't feel right, not this. It felt too big for a phone screen, too sacred for emojis and exclamation points. So I packed Lily into her booster seat, grabbed the ticket, and drove downtown. Her office was on the 11th floor of some glass and marble monstrosity that always made me feel like a mud-streaked extra in someone else's movie. But I didn't care. Not that night. I was floating. The guard waved me through because he recognized me. I'd brought Monica lunch there before. Chicken Caesar wrap, extra dressing. The elevator chimed like it was in on the secret. I thought of her face when I'd walk in holding that ticket. Her eyes wide, her lawyer cool, finally cracking. Maybe a laugh, maybe tears. We'd talk about quitting, about what Lily's college fund would look like now, about our lake house dreams. Finally, no more just getting by. Jenna, her assistant, looked up from her desk as we approached. She blinked fast like she was trying to buy time. "She's in a meeting," she said quickly, standing, like a wall. I laughed gently. "Tell her it's me. I just need 2 minutes." It's not a good time, Sam." I shifted Lily on my hip. She was half asleep, murmuring something about stickers. "Jenna, I won the damn lottery. I think she'll want to hear this." Jenna didn't move, and that's when I heard it. The door behind her wasn't fully closed, just enough of a gap to leak the sound of something unmistakable. A moan, a laugh, another moan. Too low to be from a speaker. Too familiar to be from a stranger. Something in me went quiet. That part of your brain that usually screams in shock, it didn't. It just dimmed the lights. I don't remember putting Lily back down in her booster seat. Don't remember driving home. I just remember Jenna's face. The guilt, the fear, the pity, and the voice from the office, hushed and intimate, saying Monica's name like it belonged to him. When we got home, Lily asked me why Mommy didn't come out to see us. I said she was busy. Then I tucked her in with her unicorn blanket, kissed her forehead, and sat in the dark with the ticket in my hand. $94 million. And no one to tell. Not anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't cry. I made lists, called in a favor or two, looked up trust lawyers, and read until my eyes ached, because Monica had made her choices, and now I was going to make mine. And I wouldn't be the Rock anymore, not for her. The ticket had a ketchup smudge on one corner. Lily had been dipping her fries like she was training for the Olympics and flung one across the table during dinner. I'd barely registered it at the time. Just wiped it off with a napkin and stuck the ticket under the fruit bowl with the week's other clutter. Thursday night, after folding a mountain of laundry and scraping Play-Doh off the dog's tail, I picked it up, planning to toss it. But something made me scan it first. Habit, maybe, or hope. 5 numbers, then the Powerball. I blinked. No way. I scanned it again and again. I opened the official website, punched them in manually, double-checked the date. I even checked if I'd messed up the time zone. But no, there it was. $94 million. My body didn't react the way I expected. No whooping, no adrenaline rush, no knees buckling like you see on TV. I just froze. staring at the numbers like they'd rearrange themselves and make more sense. I glanced over at Lily. She was curled up on the couch in her dinosaur pajamas, one leg dangling off the edge, thumb in her mouth. Peaceful. Oblivious. She was the reason I'd taken the night shifts at the warehouse. Why I fixed the old radiator myself instead of calling a guy. Why I never bought anything for myself without checking the budget twice. Everything, every cut corner, every counted penny was for her. And now, suddenly, she didn't have to inherit struggle, or worry, or limits. Monica's face flashed in my mind next. She always said we were stuck. Like life was just a waiting room we couldn't leave until something changed. She had this way of talking about our marriage like it was a starter apartment she forgot to move out of. I thought, maybe this was the change. This would be the moment we both stepped into the life she said we never got to have. I imagined her reaction. She'd put down her coffee, raise an eyebrow, then maybe, just maybe, let herself be surprised. Laugh, cry, pull me into one of those tight hugs she used to give before life got too busy. I imagined her saying, "We did it," even though we hadn't done anything. I imagined us sitting at the kitchen table, planning what to do with it. New house? Early retirement? A trip for just the two of us? But then I stopped myself. Because lately, when she hugged me, her arms didn't close all the way. When I asked how her day went, she answered like it was a formality, not a conversation. There was a hollow between us I'd been pretending not to notice, a silence that lingered after lights out. Still, I wanted to believe. I needed to. This money, it could mean a new beginning, not just financially. Maybe for our family, for her career, my stability, Lily's future. I'd give Monica space to pursue the things she used to daydream about. I'd finally be more than the man who changed oil filters and bought off-brand cereal. I stared down at the ticket, this ridiculous little slip of paper that felt heavier than a mortgage. My hands didn't shake. They just held on. I didn't tell anyone, not even my mom, not my sister, who would have posted it on Facebook within 5 minutes, not my coworkers, who'd expect me to quit by sunrise. I needed time. I needed a plan. And more than anything, I needed to see Monica's face when I told her, because no matter how far apart we'd grown lately, she was still the person I'd built this life beside, still the one I'd chosen, still the one I thought I'd grow old with. I told myself the look in her eyes when she saw those numbers would tell me everything. I had no idea just how right I was. I buckled Lily into her seat, still half asleep, her head lolling against her favorite stuffed elephant. I didn't even change out of my work clothes, just grabbed my coat, the lottery ticket, and my car keys. The roads downtown were quieter than usual for a Thursday. The kind of quiet that makes you feel like the whole world's holding its breath. Monica's office building stood like a monolith of glass and ambition. 11 stories of steel and soft, close doors. The kind of place where everything smelled faintly of leather and ego. I dropped lunch off here enough times that the night guard just waved me through without asking questions. "Looking sharp," he muttered, nodding toward Lily and giving her a little wink. "Elevator up, floor 10. She always said she liked being close to the top, but not too close. Where the real moves get made," she once said. I remembered thinking that was such a strange thing to say after we'd just finished splitting rent over Chinese takeout. When the elevator doors slid open, Jenna stood up from her desk like a fire alarm had gone off. "Hi, Sam. She's in a meeting." I smiled. Calm, excited. The ticket was folded carefully in my coat pocket like a live wire. "This'll just take a second," I said. "She's going to want to hear this." "Really," Jenna said, stepping in front of the door. "It's not a good time." I lowered my voice. "I won the lottery, Jenna. 94 million. I just want to see my wife." Her mouth twitched, not with surprise, but with something like dread. She glanced back at the door. And that's when I noticed it wasn't shut all the way. At first, I thought the sounds were coming from a podcast or maybe a movie running low on volume, but then I heard it. A laugh. Monica's laugh. Not the professional one, the real one, the one I hadn't heard in months. Then a groan. Soft, low, unmistakably human. And another voice, male, murmuring something I couldn't make out. But the tone, the rhythm. I didn't need subtitles. Jenna's eyes darted to mine, and I saw it. Panic. Not confusion, not curiosity. Panic. She knew. Behind me, Lily tugged at my hand. "Why can't we go in, Daddy?" My whole body went still. Not frozen, not trembling, just still, like something inside me had stopped ticking. I knelt down next to her and brushed a wisp of hair from her cheek. We're going to go home, sweetheart. Is mommy coming too? I couldn't answer that. I didn't have the right words, or maybe I had too many. I stood up, looked Jenna square in the eye, and gave her a small, calm nod. Don't tell her I came. And then I turned and walked away. Lily babbled on the ride home, asking if we could have pancakes for dinner. I said yes. We always made pancakes on Fridays. She clapped like it was the best thing she'd heard all day. When I pulled into the driveway, I sat for a minute with the engine off. The porch light flickered on automatically. I watched it cast long shadows across the sidewalk like everything was normal, like everything hadn't just detonated in silence. I didn't rage, didn't cry, didn't call her. I made Lily pancakes, gave her an extra splash of syrup, and let her stay up a little late watching cartoons. I answered every question with a smile and tucked her in with that elephant under her arm. She drifted off like the world was perfect. After she was asleep, I sat in the kitchen under the hum of the fridge and unfolded the ticket again. I had been ready to hand it to Monica, to build our new life together, brick by gold-plated brick. Instead, I realized I'd been standing alone on that foundation for years. And now? I wasn't going to beg for loyalty. I wasn't going to fight for someone who didn't look back. I was going to make sure Lily never had to know what her mother had done that night. But Monica? She'd remember every single time she poured expensive wine into a crystal glass and wondered what could have been, because I was done being her afterthought. And for the first time in 14 years, I didn't feel stuck. I felt free. She walked through the door at 9:42 p.m., hair still pinned like a magazine shoot, heels in one hand, a takeout bag in the other. Thai, judging by the smell, her usual late-night light carbs routine. I was at the kitchen table paying bills, or pretending to. Long day, she said with a light sigh, dropping her keys into the bowl by the door. I looked up. She didn't flinch. Her blouse was wrinkled. Lipstick reapplied, but not carefully. A smudge trailed near the corner of her mouth. She caught my glance, wiped it with her thumb, and laughed. Oh, I must look a mess. Jenna said I looked like I'd been run over. She poured 2 glasses of wine without asking. I let mine sit. How was your day? She asked. I looked straight at her. Routine. She smiled. That's you, Mr. Dependable. I didn't reply. Didn't need to. Let her fill the space. She launched into something about a client call gone sideways and a junior associate messing up a case folder. Her voice was all crisp delivery and charming fatigue, like a woman returning from a war with battle scars only another lawyer would understand. But I heard it. How smoothly she lied. The rhythm was too perfect, the pauses too rehearsed. I watched the way her fingers adjusted her skirt, brushing at invisible wrinkles like they might tell on her. Her left hand still wore her ring, tilted just slightly, a perfect showpiece for the audience she assumed I still was. She never asked about Lily, not once. Behind her, I could see the living room. The blue blanket Lily always wrapped herself in was gone. The stuffed elephant, Mr. Wiggles, was missing from the couch corner where he always sat. And one of the duffel bags I'd packed earlier was already in the trunk of my car, zipped and ready. The other was under the bed. She didn't notice. Why would she? I'd folded the corners down like laundry. She never asked why her house felt just a little too clean, why I'd moved the framed photos from the shelf, Lily's preschool graduation, our one beach trip 5 years ago, the 3 of us on Halloween, dressed like a family, trying a little too hard. The pictures were in a box in the coat closet, not hidden, just pre-removed. Monica kept talking. I nodded in the right places, watched her swirl her wine like she was still in control of the narrative. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was watching the way her eyes never landed on mine for more than a second, how she angled her body just slightly toward the hallway, like her secrets still lived behind a closed door, like I couldn't smell them in her hair or see them in the clumsy way she folded her napkin over her untouched noodles. I asked her one question before heading to bed. Do you feel happy? She blinked, caught off guard. Of course, she said after a beat. Don't you? I just nodded. She kissed me on the cheek like she had 100 times before, absent, mechanical, like she was checking off the end of a day. I went upstairs while she stayed to finish her wine. Upstairs, I lay in bed beside the second duffel bag and pulled out the paperwork I'd printed earlier. The blind trust registration. Maple Leaf Holdings. Registered out of state. Lily listed as sole beneficiary with a trustee assigned and a private fiduciary attorney on call. Monica thought she was the one pulling strings, but I wasn't interested in drama. I was interested in distance and preparation and truth. Because while she was out building alibis with linen sheets and stolen glances, I was building an exit. And the smile she wore so effortlessly tonight, she wouldn't be wearing it much longer. The lobby was quiet, just the hum of espresso machines and the slow shuffle of suits checking their calendars. No sleek branding, no flashy signage, just a small brass plaque with 3 last names and a discreet door buzzer. That was the point. Discretion. I hadn't slept. Not really. After Monica went to bed, I sat downstairs with Lily's baby monitor on and the lottery ticket beside me like a loaded weapon. I stared at the numbers until they felt like coordinates on a map leading me away from everything I thought was permanent. By sunrise, I'd already made the appointment. Not with our family lawyer. Too close to Monica's circle. I chose a firm across town in a zip code she'd never bother with. Mid-tier, unassuming, and full of the kind of attorneys who value privacy more than headlines. I walked in with a file folder, a throwaway email address, and a phone that wasn't linked to my name. The receptionist didn't flinch when I handed over the claim confirmation from the state lottery office. She just nodded once, offered me coffee, and said someone would be right with me. The lawyer was a woman named Naomi, sharp eyes, neutral lipstick, hands that folded neatly as she listened, never interrupting once. I told her I wanted a blind trust, irrevocable, minimal trace to my name. The winnings would transfer under a business entity I would not manage, only designate. She asked who the beneficiary was. My daughter, I said. She's 6. Her name's Lily. Naomi nodded. And the mother? I looked her dead in the eye. Excluded. No access, no control, no link. She didn't blink, just wrote. We spent 3 hours going over structure. We named the trust Maple Leaf Holdings, something innocuous, seasonal, forgettable. I listed a private mailing address I'd already secured the week before. A secure phone number routed through a secondary provider. All paperwork and correspondence would go through that channel. I wasn't playing scared. I was playing ahead. I didn't want to spend a cent until Lily's future was bulletproof. College, healthcare, housing, every detail went into the schedule. Naomi's associate brought in a spreadsheet I could barely read, but I memorized the last line. Projected compounding value by age 18, 172.4 max. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like precision. After we finalized the structure, Naomi handed me a secure thumb drive and a binder thick enough to raise suspicion if anyone found it. I didn't plan on letting it out of my sight. I'll need a trustee, I told her. I have someone, Naomi said. Private fiduciary. No ties to either party. We can loop him in this afternoon. Good, I said. My next stop was across the city, an old friend from my early warehouse days who'd pivoted into accounting. I didn't need him to manage anything. I just needed another pair of eyes on the tax structure, the clauses, the protections. He'd seen enough ugly divorces to know what mattered. This is airtight, he said, flipping through the binder while sipping his black coffee. You did this quietly? She doesn't know a thing. He laughed under his breath. Damn, smart, ruthless. I didn't know you had it in you. Neither did I, honestly. But I wasn't being ruthless. I was being deliberate. The trust would pay for Lily's dance lessons, her orthodontics, her first car. It would pay for therapy if she ever needed it, because daughters of women like Monica often do. But it would never fund Monica's spa weekends or work trips to Aspen. Not a dime of it would go toward champagne dinners in hotels she claimed were conference approved. I went home just before Lily got out of school, picked her up like nothing had changed, made her a grilled cheese, helped her with her homework, listened while she told me about a boy in class who brought a pet frog for show and tell. Upstairs, I slid the binder into the bottom of a storage bin in the back of my closet, wrapped in an old t-shirt Monica wouldn't think twice about. The fortress was built. She just didn't know yet that she was on the outside. I hadn't intended to go digging. I told myself I didn't need more proof. What I'd heard through that office door had already done the damage. But when you've built a life on shared passwords, shared bills, shared everything, curiosity becomes its own kind of punishment. So I opened our banking dashboard one last time, fingers colder than I expected. The first thing I saw was a charge from a boutique hotel in Aspen. 2 nights, a couple's suite. She'd told me she was in Chicago for a client conference. I remembered. I'd packed Lily's lunches that week, ironed Monica's gray blazer the night before she left. She'd kissed me goodbye like she still believed in the performance. I even saved her a plate of lasagna for when she got home. But Aspen. I clicked the transaction. Her name was on the digital receipt. The rabbit hole opened fast. Another charge. A necklace from a jeweler downtown. Not for me. She hated necklaces. Always said they felt clingy. But this one was delicate. White gold with a small black diamond. Under special instructions, engrave to brighter days. I scrolled faster. Dinner at a rooftop restaurant I couldn't pronounce. A booking for a couple's massage at a spa I didn't even know existed. I matched the dates to her calendar invites. Working late. Conference call. Bar association mixer. Each lie had a timestamp and a price tag. But what hit hardest wasn't the charges. It was the savings account. Buried at the bottom of our linked accounts list, probably added months ago, was a separate account. Not joint, not shared. Registered under her maiden name. The bank logo was familiar. The email tied to it wasn't. I clicked view. It took me to a login page. I couldn't get in, of course, but that didn't matter. The last 4 digits of the account balance flashed on the screen. Enough for a deposit on a condo, a new car, a one-way ticket to anywhere she wanted to go. She hadn't just stepped out on me. She had begun removing herself, piece by piece, from our life. Quietly, strategically, like she was preparing for the clean break before she ever got caught. It wasn't just infidelity, it was premeditation. A future rerouted without me. The pain didn't come like a wave. It came like cold air leaking through a cracked window, slow, creeping, constant. I sat there staring at the screen, wondering how many of our family dinners she'd smiled through while imagining the life she was designing behind my back. All those nights she said I was too tired, too distracted, too comfortable. She hadn't been complaining. She'd been justifying, and I had let her. I'd been so busy keeping the ship afloat, I hadn't noticed her building a lifeboat and paddling away. Still, I didn't yell, didn't slam anything. I didn't confront her. That would have made it about rage, and rage is messy. I wanted clarity. I made a list. Every transaction, every overlapping alibi, every lie cataloged by date and dollar. I downloaded PDFs, took screenshots, labeled folders. I created a spreadsheet titled Departure Inventory and sent it to my personal backup drive. Then I wrote down a new phrase under the trust's schedule: emergency disbursement provision, abuse of marital funds. Naomi would know what to do with that. I closed the laptop slowly, set my phone face down, and stared at the room around me. The couch we bought on sale, the framed prints she picked, the dishes we never matched because we never had to. All of it felt borrowed now. I got up, walked upstairs, checked on Lily. She was asleep, sprawled sideways, her tiny hand clutching a crayon, a pink one. That was the moment I stopped mourning the marriage, because Monica hadn't just betrayed me. She'd endangered our daughter's peace by thinking she could lie and sneak and scheme without consequence. But I wasn't going to let Lily pay for her mother's escape plan. I wasn't going to react. I was going to rewrite the ending, quietly, completely. And this time, Monica wouldn't see it coming. She didn't deserve a confrontation. Not after everything I'd seen. Not after Aspen, or the fake work trips, or the savings account registered under a name she hadn't used since the day we said, "I do." So I didn't give her one. I gave her a note. It wasn't handwritten. That felt too intimate, too sentimental. I typed it on a clean sheet of printer paper, set in a simple font, no signature, just facts. Delivered like a contract. Cold, precise, final. Monica, Lily, and I are safe. Do not contact us. All communication, financial or otherwise, will go through counsel. Then I place the business card below those words. Black lettering, embossed. The name alone would send a chill down her spine. A divorce attorney with a reputation for making high-powered spouses cry into their affidavits. Expensive, brutal, surgical. Not someone you hire to work things out. Someone you hire to make someone pay. I didn't even pack all my clothes. Just what mattered. Lily's favorite books, her worn sneakers, two of her plushies, her framed photo with grandma. The rest, replaceable. Our life was never going to be measured in throw pillows and matching dinnerware, just peace. The car was a beige Camry from a no-name rental agency 2 towns over. I paid cash, declined the insurance, swapped the license plate frame. Not because I was hiding, but because I needed time. Time for her to come home, read the note, and feel what I felt when I stood outside that office door with our daughter on my hip. We crossed the state line an hour before dawn. Lily mumbled something about pancakes in her sleep. I promised them silently. Promised her more than that. Promised safety, promised steadiness, promised a world where her mother's betrayal wouldn't poison the way she saw love. She'd asked me, days before, if Mommy was mad at me. I didn't know how to answer then. Now I did. We reached the cabin just after 7 a.m. It was quiet, nestled in pine trees and stillness. A friend owned it, a widower who owed me a favor from years back when I helped him pack up his wife's things after the funeral. He left the key under the loose brick by the steps, just like he said. Inside, it smelled like cedar and dust. No Wi-Fi, no distractions, just space to breathe. I made Lily pancakes, burned the first batch. She asked if Mommy was coming. I told her calmly, not right now. She accepted that. Kids don't need details. They need presence. While she colored at the table, I checked my phone. 10 missed calls, 8 texts, 2 voicemails from numbers I didn't recognize, all ignored. I forwarded everything to the lawyer and turned the phone off. In the silence, I opened the notebook where I'd been keeping records. I wrote a final line beneath everything I documented. The lies, the bank transfers, the receipts. You lied with ease, so I'll exit with precision. I folded the note I left her into the back pocket of that notebook, just to remind myself it happened, that I didn't just imagine it all. Monica would wake up to an empty house, a half-filled dishwasher, and the silence of someone who had stopped asking to be chosen. She'd check her messages, call my name. She'd walk through the living room, notice Lily's toys missing, her toothbrush gone, the pink rain boots no longer by the door. She'd find the note. She'd sit. And for the first time in her life, she'd understand what it feels like to be removed without warning. Not ghosted, not abandoned. Strategically, cleanly removed. I didn't want revenge. Not really. I wanted peace, and peace meant never looking back. She walked into the room like a storm that had already passed. Nothing left to rip apart, just cold air and silence. No makeup. Hair pulled back in a tight knot like she was trying to hold herself together with bobby pins and force of will. Her heels clicked sharply on the tile, but she didn't look up. She didn't look at me. Just slid into the chair across the table like we were strangers at a train station, not 2 people who'd once chosen the same forever. The room was everything I expected. Beige walls, flickering fluorescent lights, a pitcher of lukewarm water that no one touched, a place designed to keep emotions dull and contained. It didn't work. Her lawyer came in right after, a younger guy with expensive shoes and the kind of tan that said, "I never miss a vacation." He adjusted his cufflinks like the room was beneath him. I didn't say a word, didn't need to. My lawyer, older, quieter, opened the folder without theatrics. "I believe we'll start with documentation," she said. Her lawyer blinked. "My client has reason to believe the winnings should be considered community property. The trust appears to have been formed post-claim." Mine slid the first page forward. Bank statements. Then the photos. The restaurant bill in Aspen, the signed receipt for the necklace, her signature, clearly legible. Next came the spreadsheet. Hundreds of rows of transactions, each with a corresponding calendar entry and a highlighted section noting the mismatch. And then came the audio file. It wasn't long. Just enough. 37 seconds of laughter, murmured voices, and her name spoken softly by a man who wasn't me. My lawyer pressed pause. No dramatics, no raised eyebrows. Silence followed, heavy and absolute. Monica didn't flinch, didn't cry, just stared down at the table like the grain of the laminate could open and swallow her whole. Her lawyer cleared his throat. "We'd like to revisit the trust is protected," my lawyer said, calm as a glacier. "It was formed independently, verified, and finalized prior to separation. The funds are clean. The trust's sole beneficiary is Lily, not my client, not his ex-wife." She leaned in, folding her hands neatly. He offers generous child support, she continued. Assuming custody remains joint and we avoid dragging this through litigation that will only leave your client with fewer options. Monica finally looked at me. No tears, no apology, just the realization that the game was over and that she wasn't holding any pieces. I met her gaze and didn't blink. I wasn't angry anymore. That part had burned off somewhere between the lie about Chicago and the moment I packed Lily's shoes into a duffel bag without her noticing. Monica opened her mouth, closed it, signed the agreement, no fanfare, no speeches. Just ink on paper and the quiet crack of a pen cap clicking shut. Afterward, she stood in the hallway while her lawyer made a call. She didn't come over, but she watched me pack the folder back into my briefcase. As I passed her, she said one thing. "I didn't think you'd really go." I paused, hand on the door. "That was your mistake," I said, and I left her standing there in a hallway that looked exactly like the one where this all began. Bright lights, polished floors, and no warmth. Only this time, she was the one on the outside of the door, and she knew it. The tide was low that morning, slow and steady like it had nowhere else to be. Lily sat cross-legged in the sand beside me, sculpting a tiny volcano with seaweed hair and shell eyes. She called it Professor Boom. I didn't ask why. The sun hit her hair in the exact same way it used to hit Monica's, back before everything calcified between us. But Lily didn't carry any of that. She didn't know the weight that used to sit on my chest every time the front door creaked open late, or the cold that had lived in our hallway long before I ever packed a bag. She just smiled, covered in salt and joy. The beach house we'd rented was modest. 2 bedrooms, a hammock on the porch, no TV, just ocean and time. I'd been living slow since the papers were signed. No lawyers, no courtrooms, no statements. Just a clean break carved from silence and precision. Monica got the condo, the Volvo, the silverware set from our wedding registry. I didn't contest a single item. I didn't need to. Because everything that mattered wasn't in those things. It was sitting next to me, building a volcano. The mail came once a week here, delivered by a man named Dario who wore flip-flops and spoke in the quiet rhythm of someone who understood patience. He handed me the envelope with a nod, said nothing, and walked back to his dusty motorbike. Plain envelope. No return address. I recognized the handwriting instantly, my attorney's. Inside, 1 sheet of paper. Typed, center-aligned, trust value as of second quarter review, $102.6 million, and Lily's future is secure. I let the words settle. I didn't feel vindicated, or triumphant. Just still. 6 months ago, Monica had wagered her family against a moment of power. She thought I'd unravel, or beg, or blow up the way the men in her courtroom stories always did. But I didn't. Because I wasn't after revenge, I was after distance, and I'd found it, in the space between one beach wave and the next, in the steady breath of a child who never once asked why mommy didn't call anymore. In the envelope I now held, uncreased and final, Lily tugged at my sleeve. "Daddy, can we name this one too?" I smiled, folded the letter neatly, and stood. "Sure, sweet pea, but first, help me feed the fire." She followed me to the pit where last night's marshmallows had blackened into ash. I held the envelope over the flame for a second. Not in anger, just ritual, just release. The paper curled, caught, and disappeared. Behind me, Lily laughed as Professor Boom collapsed into a soggy pile. And just like that, we were free. No headlines, no dramatic endings, just peace, and the quiet knowledge that some people gamble with the wrong thing. She bet on power. I bet on Lily, and we won.